All right, we're recording now. So, Amy, Huang, welcome to the Linsider. I'm so happy to have you here today. Amy, you and I know each other from business school, and that is going back to 2010. Can you believe it's been 10 years now? Over 10 years. Thanks for coming on the Linsider.
Thank you for the invitation. This is my first time on a recorded line for anything.
Okay, good. Get used to it. You're gonna be a powerful figure.
That was the last time when I called United Airlines to complain. They're like, "You may be recorded for tuning and quality purpose."
What did you teach them that day?
Don't fuck with Asian Americans.
There you go.
Not true. I'm not American, so don't fuck with Asians.
Don't fuck with Asians. Yeah. So for folks who don't know, because I'm still this podcast is very new, just started last month. So I discuss the entertainment industry from a cross-cultural and interdisciplinary perspective. So Amy, you even asked me this, like, why are you here on my podcast? And for several reasons. First of all, I find you funny, engaging, entertaining. You're a great storyteller. We'll talk about your comedy, amateur stand-up comedian skills. But also, I think that entertainment and storytelling, especially in a cross-cultural perspective, really is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. And the fact that you work in VC, like capital runs companies, capital moves these projects, stories. We were also just talking, like before I hit record, about how shaping the narrative and the story from an entrepreneur's perspective is really important to gain investors, to gain market share, and et cetera. And then also from your perspective as a VC, you also need to storytell. So I'm really interested in diving into all of this, in our kind of the hour that we have here. Maybe just to start, can you tell us about who you are and kind of what you do, and especially from the perspective of your company?
I'm Amy Huang. My identity is Jason's friend.
There you go.
Well,
love that.
I'm a venture capitalist. I run a firm named Archina Capital Partners.
Wait, how do you pronounce that again?
It's called Archina Capital Partners.
Interesting. I saw the name of it, and I was wondering how to pronounce it.
And my business partner came up with this English name. I came with a Chinese name. I don't like the English name.
Wait, say that again.
People always mispronounce it, and also we try to bridge American and Chinese from a capital perspective.
Okay.
And he hasn't lived in America for so long that he didn't know that Chinese money wasn't really welcome. So I let it go with it because I'm like, it's a good storytelling. They were like, how the hell you came up with that lame ass name? And I can say something. And I fund companies that are truly revolutionary and can solve problems on a global scale. And the founders have the ambition to make it a global company. So in general. And so far, my sweet spot has been the intersection between software and hardware. So some of my companies I'm very proud of include Luminar Technologies that went public last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Carbon 3D, which is going public either Q4 this year or Q1 next year. I have another great company called Bright. It's a smart bed that we think can change the way we sleep forever. So I'm really excited for all these companies.
I love that. And And so, how many companies do you have in your portfolio around? Can you say?
Uh, I don't make investments in the pace that a lot of the other VCs do. So I have a very concentrated portfolio. So on myself, I make no more than 1 or 2 deals per year. I love
Mm.
to, but I don't because I would rather put a lot of money in companies that I believe in and keep on investing than spread myself too thin. Because for what I do a lot of work post investment. So the level of involvement that I have uh, doesn't really allow me to have too many companies in my portfolio.
Mm. That's great. Talk about that a little bit. Can you just pick, one of your companies and talk about the story of the company? Because in the few times that we've caught up since graduation, and when you talk about your companies, I always think they're so fascinating. So just pick one of the companies, and can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. I would tell you Luminar Technologies. This is a shirt I'm wearing. This is an IPO shirt that they give to employees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of an honorary employee because I think I help them a lot. They believe so too. At least they tell me so. Um, and the company was founded by a gentleman named Austin Russell. He, at that time, was dropped out of Stanford to join Thiel Fellowship. It was a
Mm.
fellowship founded by the famous Peter Thiel. Um, his thesis is that college isn't for everyone. If you are truly a builder, an inventor, an exceptional business person, it may not necessarily serve you well because you are wasting time. Um, Therefore, he created this scholarship fellowship to in 2011. He picked 20 people from all over the world to drop out of college and found their own company. So Austin Russell was class of 2013. So he got $100,000 to kickstart this business, and he's been a big um, fan of laser, um, very fascinated by laser since he was a child, and
Hmm.
so he dropped out of Stanford because probably he thought that it's not the best use of his time just to go to class and do homework. He would rather spend it on building the company. So he started the business in 2013, I believe, and uh, now they went public, and he hired a bunch of really, really brilliant people to help him. Jason Eisenholtz, who was his co-founder and CTO, he was Austin's mentor. He joined the company, uh, I think, in 2014 or 2015. And then they started the R&D center in Orlando. Jason was instrumental in building that. So far, the company has 400 employees in pretty much all over the world. We have people in East Coast, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, in Colorado, in Detroit. We have people in Germany, in Israel. We're currently hiring people in China as well.
Hmm.
So it's fascinating to see a young man grow from somebody who's I've never seen him comb his hair to according to Forbes, the youngest self-made billionaire ever in human history, and also employs over 400 people, creating so many great job opportunities and serving companies all over the world. So their customers include Volvo, Daimler Trucks, SAIC, which is the biggest OEM in China, and Mobileye, and we just announced Airbus yesterday.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. 1 second here.
Yeah, let me show you something really cool.
I forgot to do this.
This is the latest Forbes billionaire issue. Okay.
Whoa.
These are the Winklevoss twins.
Yeah. Right.
And this one, let me see. And this is Austin Russell.
Yep. I like that.
Yeah.
Amazing. He has a good PR team.
I told you I never seen him comb his hair. So
looks good right there.
Right now, he's hair stylist, and basically his stylist is Madonna's personal stylist.
I knew you were gonna say something like that. I was expecting like Kanye or something.
Yeah. Doesn't he look so good here?
I would have to say so. I would say you did a good job with the PR. He has a good PR firm working.
Yeah. Jack Ma says, or Cai Wensheng, I forgot which one, says money is man's best makeup.
I mean, that is certainly, there's some truth to that. There's definitely some truth to that. And what does the company do?
They make a LiDAR system for autonomous driving. We eventually want to do the whole perception system. That's our roadmap. But right now we're a LiDAR-centric company. So LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. It is the crown jewel of the sensor systems, because right now the Tesla systems use millimeter radar plus cameras. But as you can see from so many fatal accidents, that's not enough. It's not about working 99% of the scenarios, which it probably does. It's about 99 point so many nines after the decimal point. And that's why it's critical to have LiDAR, because camera using the current algorithm, it doesn't give you the exact location of objects around you. It may be some centimeters off or some meters off, but we give you exactly the real information without any error.
That's amazing. And what was it about this company that gave you the confidence to make this type of investment?
So I was introduced by a girl named Daniel and a guy named Mike. So they have a fund named 1517. So I was their LP because I just really liked them. And also I told them, I gave you guys money because you guys have the ugliest PowerPoint presentation of your fund. It's true, because when people don't realize that, you have to think concurrently, because if your PowerPoint looks too good, it probably means you've been through those rigorous Goldman or Morgan Stanley training of how to make PowerPoint nice, and therefore you will suffer from something called groupthink, because if you go to the same school and work in the same analyst class of some prestigious bank or consulting firm, what do you know that your classmate don't know, right? And you're hanging out with all the same circle. But these two people are, they used to run the TO Fellowship, and they actually recruited Austin Russell. So I was introduced by them. I remember the first time meeting Austin, at that time, I didn't really know what LiDAR was, but he
Mm-hmm.
was so impressive. There's something about him that made me think whatever he's going to build, it's going to be massively successful because this guy is just so special.
Mm.
So
What was that specifically? Was it the way he spoke or what?
I can't put word on it. Just I think it's the spark in his eyes when he was talking about it. It's very different than others, and the passion and the fact that he gave up study in a prestigious organization to pursue this, and the fact that his fingernail was very long and has like dirt inside it means he doesn't care about other human stuff. And this sounds more like at that time, a lot of people may think it's a wonder child prodigies science project in a garage. But it actually, I believe it's not just a science project. I believe it's something that can change the way we live forever. I just believe in that. I even said to him, whatever you are selling or you're making, it's gonna be the best. If you're making toilet paper, it's gonna be the best toilet paper in the world. It's one of those moments. You don't meet people like that very often. When you meet that person, you sort of just know. It's I think the love at first sight is a fairly accurate description when it comes to relationship with a entrepreneur and an investor. He's just so special.
I love all of that you said, because even as you were telling that story, it reminds me of like a aviator, like the Howard Hughes movie.
Yeah,
like with the dirty fingernails and like his kind of not caring, that contrarian aspect of it. So I love how you describe it. And I think this perfectly exemplifies why I wanted to talk to you. And then from your standpoint, what is it that you do as a VC to convince these entrepreneurs to partner with you?
Because in the Valley, let me take a step back. When it comes to Sino-American relationship, we have many years of up and down history, right? The relationship was fairly good during the Second World War when Chiang Kai-shek was the president, and he has a very charming wife who went to Wellesley, who came to U.S. Congress to give a speech.
Very famous.
Yes, to give speeches about the war in China. And every time she spoke, U.S. donated a lot of money to China. So that ended after the Communist Party took over, right? Then we didn't talk for a few decades until China's relationship with Soviet Union started to become colder. When Khrushchev was the president of Russia. And then Henry Kissinger saw this dynamic change and realized that your enemy's enemy is actually your friend, potentially. So he reached out to China, and then later Nixon visited China together with him again. And our premier, Zhou Enlai, even greeted them at the airport, which was a very big gesture for China. And then Mao received them in his personal library. So those are good time. And then it started to become very good. And even I think the turning point was that in LA Olympics, Soviet said
Yes.
we're not going to participate, and China actually said, we're going.
Yep.
So that was a very monumental period for Sino-American relationship. And then in the 90s, during Clinton's time, China joined WTO. That was a turning point for our economic growth. So then the world didn't know how fast China could grow. So it grew fast, and Trump, as a nationalist, tried to win some votes and said, we want to fuck with China because they're too powerful. We don't want our superpower status to be challenged. Therefore, because our firm was started in 2015, so Trump became president in 2016, and then the Americans, and at that time we were like, we don't want Chinese money, because you probably heard some of the stories about a lot of Chinese background funds with Chinese background decided to exit America. And then my partner and I have discussion, and my stance is that this is good for us, because if all of these companies, funds that were backed by Chinese money, they quit, when we stay, we will be the only firm in the Valley that actually have Chinese connection, which I think I don't believe history, it's like a pendulum swing. We're actually, in terms of Sino-American relationship, we're like on one end of the pendulum. It's really, really bad. At one point, it's going to start to turn. So I tell that story to entrepreneur. I say, hey, if you want Chinese connection, we're like one of the few firms who can help you. We have real connections. So the interesting thing is, when I first met Luminar, I'm like, this guy is so great. How am I gonna persuade him to take my money? And he turned out to be from a fairly wealthy family. So these, when you have a founder like that, they don't really need the money at the beginning, when the valuation was very low, because they were like, I can just self-fund or ask family for money, and then eventually, when I grow the company to a certain scale, I'm gonna raise money at a higher valuation. But you want to get in early, because I know this guy is gonna be very successful. So I'm strategically, because we're not a known firm, and I'm not known either, because my background has always been in finance, not in venture capital, but more on the public market side. So that pretty much doesn't do well for helping him. But so then I realized a book that I read called Give and Take, the great Adam Grant.
That's my one regret at Wharton, is that I didn't take his class. I took another negotiations class.
Diamond, right?
No, I took it from Andrew Brandt, who was like an NFL negotiator.
Oh, that's great.
He ran the Green Bay Packers. It was a good class, but not as cool as Adam Grant, I don't think.
He wasn't that famous.
He was not.
Cool, and then now
he was not. Now he's a rock star.
Writer, yeah. So the book Give and Take made me realize that if you are a giver, and if you meet other givers or meet matchers, you're gonna get something in return. Not that you do that just to get something in return. I think
it's not transactional.
Giver
on a relationship,
which that helped me a lot. And then I'm like, he's such a great entrepreneur, and he's doing things that can change my life, because all of my friends know that I hate driving. I'm terrible at it. It took me 3 times to pass a DMV test, which
Oh
is
no.
morons. And so so I'm like, if this works out, I don't need to drive anymore, which I should just help him for that reason. So I helped him to bring on some potential investors and customers. And then I talked to him. I'm like, hey, can you just accept like this small check from me, please? And then he agreed. So he took my first check is only $1 million. So yeah, and I was so happy.
Only? That's pretty big.
Oh no. I want to put as much as possible. I want to put my house on loan money for a home equity loan and put it, my husband wouldn't want me.
Right.
So he
but for like at what series was that? That's a lot, right?
That was seed.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was really a good life-changing moment for me. I know it back then. Like,
sure.
Even though he's still fairly early in the company, and it just it's so far from commercialization. But I just know that the moment he accepts my check, it's gonna be pretty good. So I'm also very grateful for the fact that he is not a taker. If it's a taker, he's like, yeah, I deserve your help, whatever. Everyone want to help me. He doesn't think like that.
Oh, I haven't heard that perspective before in terms of making an investment decision or partnering with an entrepreneur, but I think that makes so much sense. I've obviously read the book before and you try to apply it, but I think there's a lot more takers in this world than there are givers. And so
I would say majority of the people would be matchers.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I would say, but I may be wrong. I would say also for people that come from money, they were born into money, there will be more takers because
maybe that's what I'm.
Because you are your family has so much power. There were people like who you just get stuff, right?
Yep.
And you think things come to you.
You deserve it.
Yeah, right? Because you deserve it. I definitely don't believe that. Because when I was young, everybody in China was poor.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. We know what you do now. We know your investment philosophy. We know a company that you've worked with. Tell us a little bit about your background. Like I am always interested in learning the origin story. So as much as you want to share, I want to hear about it.
I was born and raised in a city named Zhengzhou in central China. It's a very large railway hub. It's used to be the former longest railway from east to west and the longest from north to south. They cross in my hometown.
Wow.
And railway.
You're like the heartland. You're like Iowa or something.
Yeah, sort of. Except we don't have that many corns. And if you look,
what is Denzhou known for?
Look at the map.
Yeah.
Before the reform and opening up, you would think this is the most wealthy place in China, just because it's transportation wise, it's so important. However, it isn't. It's actually economically pretty lagging historically, just because I think the government are fairly corrupted. It's known for having fairly corrupted government back then. So and then growing up, I remember going to, because I was born in the 80s, and at that time the coastal city, some of the coastal cities already had reform and opening up, but it didn't hit my province yet. So I remember going, growing up, when you buy food, not only you have to pay money, but you have to pay food stamp, which is a way to ration people. It's not just for, like, food stamp in America is for people below certain income level. In California, they have something called CalFresh. But when I was growing up, that's for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're just a regular citizen or government official. Everybody needs to use both money and stamp. You have
a way of rationing.
Yeah, right? You have, if you want to buy TV, you have a TV coupon or TV stamp, food stamp. Because I don't think people in coastal cities have this kind of experience. So then after, I think I was like in middle school, I started seeing kids wearing clothes that were imported, and or their parents were stationed overseas for some SOE, and they get clothes from overseas. So that was fairly fascinating for me. And there was one kid in my middle school. I've only seen one person in my entire middle school with braces. It was considered a huge luxury.
Yeah.
There was nobody in my high school that have braces. And there's one kid, I remember his dad worked for an SOE. They stationed him in, I think, Pakistan. He had braces. We actually made fun of him for having braces. But now I think about it, it's a luxury symbol because it costs a lot of money. We're like, how much did it cost? And after he said how much it cost, we're like, that's what my dad makes for a year. You have like that. Yeah, it's been very different. So my family were mostly hospital administrators. Dad used to run. It's currently he retired. He used to run the Henan Cancer Hospital. It's currently the biggest cancer hospital in the world.
This is your dad?
Yeah, but he's retired.
Yeah.
A lot of my family members work in the hospital system. And I've seen extreme poverty and extreme misery because we all live near the hospital. There is one community built that everybody who live in that community, because it's the hospital subsidized housing, and we all know one another, and we walk. It's like the hospital is a block away. So I always go there to see my family or our neighbors and kids, and I've seen like really messed up stuff when it's just by looking at people walking around, and it sort of made me believe that we have a lot of poverty around our outside of our little community. It sort of made me have more compassion. I think that was a good side education that I received outside of the school. And then after high school, a lot of our high school classmates wanted to go to Beijing because that's where the capital is, and they view this is where opportunities lie. And for me, I really like Cantonese music. When I was young, I like Anita Moy, like Huang, like those people. So, and my mom spent part of her childhood in Guangdong, and so I decided I don't want to go to Beijing. I want to go south. So I got into Sun Yat-sen University, which is the best university in South China. And I don't study anything. At least I learn Cantonese so I can sing those songs and watch Stephen Chow movies. He was my childhood idol, Stephen Chow.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah. It turned out to be a fairly useful language in America, because most of the early immigrants are Cantonese speakers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for you as someone from Zhengzhou, they're not expecting you to know Cantonese. So it's like
at least like you can't talk shit at me. It's not really hard to pick up. I think I picked up within a month.
I think you just have to be but you have to be immersed in it, right? And you have to really try, like all your friends
speaking Cantonese, and you watch some TVB TV series, drama, you really quickly.
Yeah, and you just have to have the balls to speak it, right? And to not be afraid to sound stupid for like the first month.
Yeah, and they call like women like me "bagu," meaning like a women from the north. "Bagu Beigu."
Yeah. Baku almost sounds like even cooler. It sounds like almost like a superhero or something.
Yeah, that should be the title of your next movie project.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, there you go.
Funded by me.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, talk a little bit about that, because I mean that's where I saw your connection with entertainment. Because even from my memories of you from school, you were doing stand-up comedy, right? And that is, for me, was really cool to see that, because here is someone from China doing stand-up comedy, and you were doing it before it was cool, right? Now there's a trend. Now there's a trend, but you were doing it back then, like more than 10 years ago. So talk about just some of your early memories of entertainment. It seemed like that really formed you, and like talk about you mentioned some of your favorite actors, you mentioned your Cantonese music. What do you have memories of, like what was that first movie or first movies or first celebrity movie actor who had that impact on you when you were a kid? What were your favorite things?
My favorite actor is by far Stephen Chow, but that was like a little later. I think I was like in a higher grade of elementary school.
Okay.
Because back then the TV industry was, because remember I'm from a landlocked city with a corrupted government, and we didn't have the fancy stuff from Hong Kong, Taiwan, or America until later. I remember when I was very young, I went to the cinema with my family to watch Sound of Music. That was a really, really fascinating experience for me.
Wow.
With all the music, I feel like that's why I think that was the moment when I decided musical was the best form of movie. So far, my favorite movies are still musicals.
Like,
My Fair Lady, Chicago, Rent, and I just it's a way to give you sort of pure joy when your life is sort of boring and not eventful. I think that's why Bollywood was such a big deal, because India has a very large impoverished population, and they live their lives in slums, and they don't have running water or flush toilet, and they watch those musicals. The Bollywood movie are mostly musicals, I think. And they have so many beautiful colors of their dresses and their dancing, and all love story. So it creates fantasy in your head for 2 hours when you don't have to think about the homework and other stuff that you're doing that they're not so pleasant to think about. So then, but for domestic entertainment, I always like 相声. It's a dual stand-up comedy in China. And also I like 小品, it's sort of like SNL style sketch comedy. That's sort of, it's not live. One of my favorite, I really like the female comedians. I think they're more talented, like Song Dandan and Cai Ming. You know Song Dandan?
Well, she related. Isn't she related to Chloe Zhao?
Yes, she is a stepmother of Chloe.
Yeah.
That was so cool, right?
Yeah.
Like they were really trailblazing talent.
So you grew up watching.
Yeah, because I just think my dad's side of the family were like more like laissez-faire kind of way to raise kids. But my mom's side, she's from a very prominent family, and before Cultural Revolution, obviously. And they always say, "Oh, you're laughing too loud. Like a girl shouldn't sit that way." And like, I don't like them. I like my dad's side of the family. So, because I like watching Cai Ming and Song Dandan made me think that women can be funnier than men. And because these are probably the only two women that are funny. There are a lot of guys that are funny. So then,
in terms of popularity, were they as popular?
They were very popular.
Yeah.
Too, because you have to have both men and women in a show. They were just so talented. Song Dandan is, I think she's a best of all of them. She's such a good actress, and her timing and her just facial expression, everything was just perfect. So that's why I found it very odd to watch her in House of Flying Daggers, because she played a small role in House of Flying Daggers, and I just find it very.
Which one is it? Is it the? No, I have to watch it. I know I watched it a long time ago, but I'm gonna guess. Is it there's this one character? She's like this. I want to say like something ant, like a number of ants. Play that one.
Yeah. So
no wonder, because you know what?
Very hard to watch her in that setting.
Even going very. I know nothing about this. You just connected it today. I watched House of Flying Daggers back when it came out in China. I went to see it, and when I saw her come on, Song Dandan come on, I laughed because I was like, it's so.
Because she's comical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do find it very hard to watch her in that movie because she.
It was. So I had both reactions. I laughed because of her.
Watching her, I did, and that's why this. So
but also in that movie, how they used her was so awkward. Was so odd.
Yeah. So.
But then, she made you laugh just by in that role, just by appearing on screen.
It's all the muscle memory of being funny for decades, and then you can't not be funny anymore, right? So after when I was in higher grade, so my dad's hospital somehow had satellite TV. So then we watched the movies and TV shows from Hong Kong and Taiwan. I think my dad's hospital was like the only one in our neighborhood. I have like elementary school friends, and they come to my home to watch TV because they don't have that.
Right.
So I remember, and we also have like the rental movies from Hong Kong too. Starting at that time, they're all pirated, and watched some police movies in Hong Kong, 飞虎队, 霸王花, and I really like Sandra You know Sandra
No.
关羽.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
You don't know her?
No, I have to look this up.
Wu Junru. She played
I probably face will
won
probably
an Academy Award in Hong Kong playing a Golden Chicken. She played a prostitute.
Okay.
she's a brilliant. So I really, really like her. It's the same way I like Song Dandan and Cai Ming. She's even more dramatic than them. You know who Sandra's husband is?
Who?
Chen Kexing.
Oh, then I know. Yeah, I just don't know the name. Like, yeah, I've met them.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's so funny.
She is a great actress. I just don't know the name.
Yeah, she's so funny. Go watch all the Golden Chicken movies.
I also haven't seen her old films. I've only seen her more recent films.
Yeah, her old film is 霸王花.
Okay.
It's about the special duty units in Hong Kong.
Right.
I actually have friends who run the special duty unit in Hong Kong. They're Hong Kong cops.
That's cool.
Next time you go to Hong Kong, we hang out with them.
Yeah, I would love that. I want to meet that. That's the great thing. When I was living in Hong Kong, I lived there for 2 years after business school. That was the fun thing for me, was to know the locals, because I knew some locals from my time working in China in film production, because most of the crew, at least the department heads, are all Cantonese. Yeah. And so I kept in touch with them. And that was the best part, because most people who are not from Hong Kong, when they go there, they only know the expats. Right. Or the people that are living overseas, whether it's from China or from, around the world. But to know like local Hong Kongers, it's the best, because you see the city in a different
I used
light.
to go to Hong Kong and stay with them in Kowloon Tong.
Yeah.
That's where the police units are.
Kowloon Tong has a very interesting history.
Non-normal people. And the best thing is the guy friend who I told you about. We would go to like the Wan Chai, nightclubs.
Yes, because Wan Chai is known for that.
We all know him. It's so funny to see those dark-skinned Asian women that work there. They're like, "Hi." I'm like, "Whoa, this is so fun." You don't see cops like that in China.
Right.
So then Sandra Ying is my favorite female, and then my favorite male is Stephen Chow. Like, my mom took me to see 唐伯虎点秋香. Do you know that one? 唐伯虎點秋香. It's a like a period drama comedy, and it was really good. I think I laughed so hard the whole time. And later on, I watched it again many times after I learned Cantonese. It's actually even funnier.
Oh, yeah. To understand Cantonese, right? And to watch.
Yeah. But
you get a different layer. The Cantonese language, I think.
My mom took me there. It was dubbed in Chinese.
Mandarin, yeah.
So I just think the entertainment business in Hong Kong overall is just much higher quality, even though they have a much smaller population.
Yeah.
It's the influence of all the U.S. and the British movies, and also there's a lot of there is freedom of speech, so they can say whatever they want. So that was actually one of the factors I decided to go to school in the South, despite all my friends going to North.
So you're a contrarian thinker through and through.
So I, as you know, mentioned earlier, I grew up loving comedy and idolizing these comedy gods and goddesses, and when I came to America, I started watching the late night talk shows like Letterman and Conan.
Conan's great.
Yeah, and it's like very different kind of comedy. Every region have their own flavor of comedy. Even within China too, different regions have different way to make you laugh. And the most popular ones in China are mostly from Northeast China.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, then when I came to America, I'm like, this is cool. And then they have those monologues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the monologues are basically stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been to a comedy show until business school.
Oh, okay.
And I just my impression of comedy is just late night talk shows.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I when I was in undergrad, I watched some of Seinfeld and Friends. I thought Friends at that time. I thought Friends was very funny. I didn't really get Seinfeld, but after I lived in America, I sort of get it. It's a very American, uniquely American humor. Like Friends is very universal, right?
Yep.
Very, very universal.
It's just young people living together.
Yeah. But Seinfeld, you have to sort of live in America to appreciate it.
Yep.
So
it's also particularly New York, I think, and like a little bit even like Jewish. There's a lot of Jewish influence, right? Like Jewish culture.
Yes. Yeah, because Jerry and Larry are both Jewish.
Yeah.
So when I came to business school, you remember the club fair?
Yeah.
Before the first semester began.
Yep.
They have like, oh, this is a finance club. This is the wine club, whiskey club, Asian American club. And I saw a comedy club. I'm like, ooh, comedy club. This is cool. I think of all the clubs, this is fun.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just comedy, just people watching comedy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I met this guy named David Edelman. He is the club president. He's a year above us. And I said, oh, this is fun. Like, I remember I talked to him for a little bit. He was sort of arrogant. He's a Jewish American who went to Harvard undergrad. And he saw this Asian woman who had a Falby accent and say she's interested in comedy. Like, yeah, whatever. So he just said to me point blank, he said, I just don't think women are funny. Which is not true, right?
Was he trying to make a joke?
I don't know what he's trying to say. He just said, I don't think women are funny.
Right.
Then I said, oh, then you should watch me try to parallel park because it's fucking hilarious.
That's great. Great comeback.
Yeah. So then I went to, I just signed up for it and I paid some money. Then I went to the first gathering, and they were like, "Who's your favorite comedian?" And everybody was saying some big names and stuff. And I was like, "Oh, I think I said something like Conan, which is like very mainstream, right?"
Right.
So then part of the and there were like only 2 girls in the entire gathering. They're all like white guys.
Yeah.
All white guys and a couple Indian guys. And then the first.
That sounds like a setup for a joke right there.
Yeah. And then the first club activity is to go to see a comedy show. That was actually my first real comedy show ever. We went to Helium Club and we saw Dave Attell. And I can tell you, because that was like 10 years ago, I didn't understand most of the things he said. Like, I understand the words, but people laughing, I'm like, why are they laughing?
Right.
So then the club activity, the ongoing club activity was every week we will meet at there's what's his name of the bar? It's like 23rd and Walnut, I believe.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's like that Irish kind of club, right?
Yeah. So we would gather there every Monday night.
Yeah, they had a back room.
We will write jokes and we will tell each other the jokes, and then we will just criticize. We're like, oh, this sentence can be it's funnier in the passive tense. Things like that, right. I remember I just started writing jokes, and one of the guys gave me really good feedback. They were like, you are an Asian female, and it's actually, we don't see people like you on stage. You should use this as an advantage and talk. And
you were the Ali Wong before Ali Wong.
Yeah. So they say you should be able to take advantage of the fact that you're different from everybody else, and because people will want to know more about you, so you can write things around yourself, your own experience versus some observation that you made on campus that anybody can tell the joke. You want to write jokes that it can only be told by you, not Jason Lin, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and people find it like, oh, she's interesting. So we started doing comedy shows and organize these things, and we will sell tickets. It's like comedy show and Follies are the most sought after tickets on campus, because it's always sells out, right?
Right.
So we do 2 shows per semester, and then the next year I became the club president of the comedy club, and I was the first non-native speaker that got this title. It was pretty cool, and I also changed because I took a class in OPIM. Operations. And,
what did you do to the comedy club? How did you open it?
So I basically, they have like those management system, and there's like overage costs and underage costs and stuff. So also different tiers of ticketing. So I actually built a model on how to sell tickets, and then we made way more money than previous guys because they undersold the tickets price.
Wait, is it just you just raise the prices? That's
we raise price, and not just that, we have tiers. So like if you want to do front row seating, the ticket is higher. Remember that?
Of course, yeah.
If you want to sit next to Cambro or PBL and the professors, we raise even more.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and people actually paid for that. That's amazing.
Of course, we sell out all the time. Because my first thing after my first initiative after this whole taking over the comedy club was that they actually, the previous class, they spent a lot of the money they made on beach week renting a house. So that's actually illegal. So
is it?
Yeah. And then we were in the red. When I took over, I'm like, how the fuck we're in the red?
Right.
So we have to borrow emergency money from this the
student association.
The club, the overall the club master or whatever. So the first thing I said is, because we sell out, all the time, we should increase the ticket price. And then do different tiers of ticketing. So eventually, we made way more money than the red. Not only we plugged the hole, but we made a lot more money. So performers, because I try to encourage people to sign up to perform. So the girls, because Lululemon was very popular, I would say, we just. If you perform, we give you a Lululemon jacket. So
that's how you got girls to sign up?
Yeah. Because it's sort of intimidating to
It is super intimidating.
Yeah, even for guys, for women even more, right? Because you're trying to be funny, and the most difficult thing is if you're telling jokes and nobody laugh for like a minute, you're gonna panic, and then
even 10 seconds, 5 seconds,
you're gonna start to forget next line and everything. So it was a really fun experience for me. So then after graduation, I still go to a lot of comedy shows, and because it's just so fun. And after that, I started performing in some of the open mic nights in San Francisco. That was all before COVID. I would say what I take away from this whole experience is that one, it's comedy. Stand-up comedy is the most daunting public speaking experiences that you can have. If you can do stand-up comedy, you nail public speaking. Public speaking is nothing. And then the other thing is, like if you're a singer, you can sing other people's songs. But if you are a comedian, you have to tell your own jokes that you write. So writing jokes has always been the most difficult part, in my opinion, for comedy. I think delivery is not too big of an issue for me. It's about how to come up with things that people can laugh. It's also universal. You don't know who's sitting in your audience. If you're Wharton, then like if you say some jokes about a certain professor that everybody knows, and they will all laugh. But if you are here in the city, how do you make sure most people laugh? You don't know who the audience are. You don't know their background. So that's very hard to do. So in the process, and I think in the past 10 plus years when I'm doing comedy, it made me more observant to what's going on with people around me, or like like some current events. Like it's almost it almost becomes a habit. When you hear something, you just think, how am I going to make it funny? So it makes you more observant. It also makes your brain work more. And it's also one of those careers that as a comedian, you can be relevant for decades, right? I think the most prominent example is Joan Rivers. She had a really choppy career. She's very a real trailblazing talent. Her career has been up and down, and she died in an accident, like a medical accident. But before she died, she was a host of a show named Fashion Police. I religiously watched on E. That's the only thing.
That was super. I think that's probably what put E on the map, right?
Maybe. I love the show. She's so good. So it's Friday and afternoon for 1 hour. I watched every episode. And that was so popular. And think about it. She was in her 80s and she was as relevant as ever, just because she's really funny, and she's also keeping up with her celebrity gossip, because that's her claim of fame, is she talk about celebrity, right? It sort of gives me an idea that, because I think about career longevity a lot, like how do you stay relevant? How can you keep yourself at peak of your game, even decades after you first started something? So that's why I have like the Tom Watson signed photo on my, let me show you. Yeah, because he had a really long career for a golf. Really good.
That's cool.
And sports is hard. And our friend Tan Yuan YY, she has a really long career. This is her 26 years with San Francisco Ballet. She's still
that's crazy.
So I think comedy is one of the careers that can enable you. You can do it if you want to.
Yeah.
You're good at it. There are still certain careers that you can't, like
right.
Michael Phelps, right? Like once you reach a certain age.
And he already did it for such a long time. Like four Olympics or something.
It's just the nature of the career. But for comedy and possibly venture capital, these are careers that can be really long lasting.
For sure. I mean, look at the best venture capitalists. It's like they get better and better with age.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel your experience in comedy has helped you in your job as a VC?
I think my reputation, even in school, I think at the graduation, every cohort had this superlatives for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what yours is, like most handsome.
I don't think
something.
No, I don't think our cohort. I don't think we.
No, we had that, and mine is most likely to tell you the truth.
Accurate, yeah.
Because whenever we're having a class discussion, I just say whatever the hell is in my mind, and I think people told me that they like to hear me talk, answer professors' questions and stuff. It's like me and Johnny Chen. They like to hear
But I would say it's not necessarily that you're just talking to talk or to say whatever is on your mind. I think what's the value add is like there is some insight.
Yeah, because I think you want to make people be able to think, right?
Yeah.
That's I think the one thing I really like about comedy, stand-up comedy, because it's a art form that's truly American, right? It's the only safe place that you can say your real opinion. Like forget about the Netflix comedy, because Netflix comedy isn't real comedy. They're in theaters, and a lot of the material have to go through something called standards and practices, right? But you want your comedy not filtered down. You want your comedy raw. I think the only comedy that I watched on Netflix that's real comedy is called Bumping Mics. That's with Jeff Ross and Dave Attell. They're just making fun of each other, calling out audiences. And I think one thing they did really, I think is a very touching moment was from that particular show is that there was a guy who was a severe burn victim. He was a veteran. And they basically roasted him on stage, which I think is a really nice thing to do. Because when you are a burn victim, people sort of like, oh, I feel sorry for you.
Pity.
And, thank you for your contribution to this country, but I feel sorry for you, and that's it. I think there shouldn't be sacred cows, because if you are a sacred cow, you're actually missing out a lot, right?
Oh, you're not a human anymore, really.
Yeah, so they made fun of that guy on stage. I think he was probably having the best time of his life after the tragic accidents.
Right.
And that's what real comedy is. It's not the Netflix theater comedy.
Right.
So coming back to your question, what has done for my work? I think if you
how do you use it? How do you
have a reputation that you say whatever you want, and then this is your personal brand. I think people are more okay. You can get away with a lot of things in business because it's your reputation. Just like Joan Rivers, right? Like Joan Rivers don't apologize for her jokes. She made fun of everybody. He doesn't matter your government official or some starlet, and I remember she made fun of Michelle Obama. She said Michelle Obama looks like a tranny, and people were like, "You shouldn't say that. You should apologize for your joke." And he said, "Oh, look at her." It's because of Joan Rivers, you can get away with that, right? But if you are another person, I don't think it's like they're gonna cancel you or something.
Yeah.
In today's
immediately.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But because of that's her personal brand.
Her brand. Yeah.
Well, my personal brand is always, I say whatever I think I do whatever I think is right for the company. I don't care about this PC culture. I don't care about office politics. I just care about efficiency, getting more revenue, doing what's necessary. And also, one of the interview questions or the thing that people want to know when interviewing candidates for certain job posts is that if you are traveling together and you're stuck at the airport for 4 hours, can you stand this person?
Yep.
And
likability.
If you have, at least if you can tell jokes, you can make up jokes. It's not a bad thing to have from your companion that you're stuck in the airport with.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And also another thing about this is that I think that the whole Ellen Powell movement, I think she had good intention, right? She sued Kleiner Perkins for gender discrimination. Yep. But the fact that she's an Asian woman, it actually makes people think twice for hiring more Asian women.
You think so?
I definitely think so. Just because if it's like a white guy or a white woman, maybe not.
But you don't think they see her as the exception? Because she's like quite outspoken.
There are also very few Asian women that are in the venture capital industry. They're getting more, but still not.
Especially traditionally. It's more like now in this current generation, like in the last 10 years, maybe.
Yeah. So
traditionally there's not.
There's so few of us. And then they realize that, if you hire an Asian woman, she can in future sue you for racial discrimination and gender discrimination, right? So it sort of put us in a different category. Like this woman better be so good for us to even consider hiring her, right?
Right.
So therefore, I think if I have a certain kind of personality, like, she's actually dirtier than us, like it means she doesn't care about us telling like some bad jokes and stuff. So it makes it easier for people like me to work in an industry that's dominated by men. I think this woke culture, this PC culture, is like put us on an unhireable category. It's like, we don't want any future lawsuit. Just don't get them in the first place, right? But if you are more approachable to them, then it sort of opens a door a little bit.
That's an interesting way that you put it. I agree with your sentiment. I would phrase it a little differently, because I would say in what you just said now, that awareness of personal branding, it's so important, and you really embody that, and you think about it strategically. I think that's hard to do, because you hear about personal branding, you're like, yeah, of course, but how do you build that and live that and be true to that like all the time and get that word out there? I think because you have that personal brand, a situation like that is not as likely to happen to you, and it makes you also, like you were saying, more likable at the end of the day. And that example with Ellen Pao, I think that's the thing. It's like how storytelling, how the media, how narratives, like they have such a powerful effect, both good and bad, right? So when it has that potentially negative effect that you said, how do you counter that? And so, yeah, I think it's definitely something to think about. And it's definitely good that to talk about as well, because it's not a easy or a simple kind of scenario.
Yeah, that's why I think for the Asian female community in general, it's so great to have people like Ali Wong and Aquafina
Yeah.
representing us on the big screen and small screen.
But also a ton more, right? Because like you said, like they're so different. Everyone is so different. So there needs to be like, that's one of the things that I talk about. Instead of just like one and making that the shiny example, we need like thousands, right? And to figure out what your platform is, what your voice is, what you can do to talk about yourself, and not be afraid of that. Because yeah, I think traditionally there hasn't been that. But to your point about, Asian females in the VC world now, and it's kind of like what even the example you gave when you were a kid and watching Song Dan Dan and the comedians, right? Like the female comedians, that gave you a template. You could see that. And now the next generation, seeing folks like yourself and other VCs, like they can see that they can do that, and they can use whatever disadvantages to their advantage if they can figure that out, and then try to, like you said, find good investments, make a shit ton of money, and be efficient.
Yeah, and even today, when people see a female VC, they'd be like, "Oh, are you funding like a organic tampon company?"
Really? You get that?
Lululemon replica. But the fact is that
Interesting.
most of the deals that I funded are hard tech deals.
Right.
Yeah. Even the stories. The other day, my husband wanted us to buy a Lamborghini Urus. It's a Lamborghini SUV.
Yeah. Why?
Because it looks really good. We have a few in our garage downstairs, and they look really, really good.
Okay.
I'm like, over my dead. Like, think about this. If he and I walk out of the car at the same time, if you don't know us, what the hell are you gonna think about? And you're gonna say she's a gold digger.
The mistress.
But as a matter of fact, I'm the gold. Who's the digger, right? So it's just because I'm an Asian female, I can't. There are a lot of things that it's normal for other people, but I'm more conscious about.
That's why I say we have to normalize all this shit.
Yeah. So
and change the narrative, change that stereotype.
I'm like, good luck. Maybe your next wife will buy you.
But my question is, do you want that car?
I don't drive, okay? I only
that's right. You don't.
I have luminar LiDAR and also automatic parking, so I don't.
Okay, but if you could have your luminar car enabled car in the future, what would it be in? Where would that technology reside? Would it be in a Lamborghini, or where would you put that technology for your own car?
The LiDAR?
Yeah.
LiDAR in future will be a requirement, a basic requirement.
Right. And so in the future, what car would you want to have?
I want to have a made in China car.
Good answer.
That's what.
Good answer. Wait, what truck?
FAW. It's a truck made by Yiqi in Changchun.
Oh,
BMW is the biggest truck maker in the world.
yeah. Okay. There you go.
I look a lot more like a truck person, right? Because it's like more indestructible than a small car, like a smart car or like a
I definitely don't like the smart cars. Yeah.
Audi TT. Andrew DeBerry drives an Audi TT. I can't believe it.
I never liked those cars.
Yeah, I like a big car because chances are I'm gonna get into an accident, and then if
You're gonna have your LiDAR. What accident are you gonna get into?
if I get into an accident, at least I will be intact. That's why my car will be the most sturdy car,
There you
hopefully
go.
with a bulletproof glass to counter the higher, ever increasing petty crime rate
Oh,
in
that's
San
crazy.
Francisco.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, shall we wrap it up here? Is there any recommendations you have? Any recent films, TV shows, books, podcasts that you've read that you recommend?
TV show. I recommend my favorite, most addictive TV show is called Blown Away on Netflix.
Okay.
It's a reality competition about glass blowers.
Oh,
It's fascinating.
cool.
I didn't know about glass blowing until my good friend took me to a Seattle glass blowing workshop, and I made a bowl. It's actually really, really good experience. So it's
Do you use the bowl or is it art?
yeah. Let me show you my bowl. Hold on.
Yeah, please.
So this is a bowl that I made in the
Oh,
in the
pretty cool.
glass workshop.
What do you currently use it for?
Just my like
Jewelry?
my business card. I don't really wear jewelry anymore.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I'm all Marie Kondoed away.
Okay. But you still use people still have business cards?
I use it to get like my earplugs so I don't lose it.
Yeah.
And credit
That's
card.
cool.
Yeah. So I recommend Blown Away. They've shown 2 seasons, and the winner, I think the prize of the winner is like some money plus have their own exhibition in the Corning Museum of Glass in New York State.
Like it.
It's amazing. You can see the way they make the glasses at the beginning because you only know what it looks like after it's been sitting in the cooler for like 48 hours because you can't see the color because when it's hot. And it's every episode they give you a theme. They say, oh, this episode's theme is nature, or this is like a life experience, or it's like really good. Like that's like a very, very high form of art in my opinion. So that's my favorite TV show.
Oh, cool.
Blown Away. And the book
I'll definitely check that
I
out.
recommend is called The Weirdest People in the World that I'm currently reading.
Okay.
The word weird stands for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. It basically says a lot of the statistics about behavioral economics and stuff. They're all by Western college kids.
Yep.
That's not really the normal.
That's not normal.
Yeah. And also the way our brain works is that over time, as people become more literate, literacy is only a thing in the past 500 years or so. Most people in the world before then were illiterate.
Right.
And Martin Luther, he had a religious reform, and after that, people started becoming illiterate because they wanted to read Bible.
Right.
And as you become more literate, some features of the brain will disappear or will diminish to compensate for the fact that you need to memorize a lot of the things that you look on paper. So one of the features that diminishes is your ability to do facial recognition with your eyes. So you're a lot worse at recognizing faces than before because you're more literate. So I'm still going through the book, but it's fairly fascinating.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you for those recommendations.
Another person I want to recommend you on the show is my friend Tan Yuan.
Yeah, I've already reached out to her. I need to reach out to her to set the time to have her as a guest on my show.
Yeah, she has a fascinating life story.
It is amazing. Yeah.
She's second youngest person of Committee of 100. The youngest, Stephen Chen from you.
Yeah. Awesome.
She's a personal friend and a personal idol. Her mom makes really good food. So next time you come,
oh yes,
go to her home.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll do a gathering. All right, Amy. Well, thank you for being on the show. Good luck with everything. Safe travels. I can't wait to hear about your next investment.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah.
I gave my Virgin show to you.
Well, I hope it's worth it. All right.
Yeah.
Until next time. All right, I'm going to end this now. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.